Today, I am going to be doing a review on set number 75396, aka the Desert Skiff and Sarlacc Pit. This set released in 2024 for a retail price of $80, and it has 558 pieces, 6 figures, and an age rating of 9+. And normally I don't do this, but I honestly really like the box art. I do like how the Sarlacc Pit is in the ground, like how it is in the movies, and the dual suns I think looks pretty nice. But I am pretty sure that one of them is supposed to be a bit more of an orange color. And of course we have the 25th anniversary figure down there, the other 5 figures, and the actual Desert Skiff. But I'm not sure why Boba Fett is so low to the ground. At the back, there's just another little scene, some other features, so not bad. And when you open the box, there is going to be 6 numbered bags and 2 instruction booklets. And the first one is going to be to build the Sarlacc Pit, and the second one is going to be for the Desert Skiff. And there were these 2 pieces that were just in the box. They were not inside of any bag. And something pretty cool is that on the first page of the instruction booklet, there is a little celebration for the 25th anniversary. Our first figure in this set is this Boba Fett figure. It is very nice. I think that LEGO did a pretty good job on him. He has a great print on his torso, excellent arm printing, which in my opinion looks amazing, great leg printing, a pretty standard helmet, and he does have an excellent face print. And of course, he includes his jetpack and a decent back print, even though it's covered up by the jetpack, but I do appreciate that they put it there. But I have 2 major issues with this figure. The first one is that he just should have included his cloth pauldron, because that would have made the figure look so much better. And I mean, they could just reuse the exact pauldron and no one would really care. And the main reason why it wasn't included is just because of cost-cutting measures. It's that simple. And my second major issue is the fact that this exact Boba Fett figure was included. And what I mean is, this figure right here is him in his Empire Strikes Back outfit, but in Return of the Jedi, which is what that set is based off of, he had a different outfit. And LEGO did make the correct outfit right here in 2017 in the last Sarlacc Pit. And I am pretty annoyed that LEGO didn't make a new figure and just reused the same Boba Fett. Our second figure is this Luke Skywalker, and it is a pretty good figure. He has a pretty nice torso print, which admittedly is relatively simple, but I do like it. It is him in his gray and black robes, which I think looks very nice, and his print does even extend down to his legs. And something interesting that I've noticed is that for some reason there's that gray line going across his knees, and I'm not sure if that was intentional, but I don't think it looks too bad. It doesn't distract that much. But my major issue with this figure is his hairpiece. In my opinion, I'm not the biggest fan of this hairpiece. I just don't think it looks as good as the previous hairpiece that LEGO's been using. I just feel like this new one looks too jarring. And Luke does have his basic face print. LEGO has been using the exact face on pretty much all of the Luke Skywalkers recently. And his back print is also pretty simple, and that is his second face. We also have Lando Calrissian in his disguise, which looks great. I really like his torso print. I think that it's very nice, and his leg print also I think is great. And he does include his very nice helmet, which even has some printing on it. But it is a very minor downgrade, and that's just because it has less printing than the last Lando. But I don't really care about that too much. It's a very minor difference. But overall, it does look great, and his back print also is pretty nice. And he does have an excellent face print, which I think looks great. It is pretty accurate, but I do wish that LEGO included an extra hairpiece for this figure, because otherwise his face is just going to be mostly hidden by his helmet. And he does have a pretty decent second face. We also have this brand new Han Solo figure. And I think that it looks pretty nice overall. I do like his face print. I think that it's definitely an upgrade to previous Han Solos. And I am a huge fan of his new torso print. I think it also looks great. But he doesn't have any leg printing, which I do kind of wish that was included. But to be fair, it's not like his legs really had that much detail. And he does have a very simple back print and a very nice second face. We also get this Chewbacca. It is a very common figure. He's not exclusive in the set. This same figure has released in multiple other sets. But to be fair, it's not a bad figure. He does have this very nice piece for his head and torso, which is on top of a regular minifigure torso. And it does look very nice. It does have pretty good printing on it. And he does luckily have some very nice leg printing. And there is a very minor print on his back just for his bandolier. Definitely the highlight figure of the set, the Nine Nub. I think LEGO did a very good job on this figure. He has a very nice print on his torso, which I think looks great. And it is a very nice piece if you want to make your own Rebel friend. And he also has a very nice leg print, which I noticed his belt actually is very similar to this Han Solo. But besides that, his printing on his legs is very nice. There is a bit of pockets, but they are a bit hard to see. And he does have a very nice back print, which looks pretty nice. And definitely the highlight of this figure, he does have an excellent molded head, which looks great. It is a brand new mold. It has a great print for his little head cover, which I think looks very nice. And I think that they did capture his detailing on his face very well. And something funny is that they did make Nine Nub's brother, or at least someone of the same species, in a different set. And that one just used a regular minifigure head. But I think that this headpiece is a massive improvement. So, overall, great figure. I honestly don't have any complaints about him. Except the red print is a bit darker than his legs and arms on his torso. And that's just because the red printing was printed on a black torso. But luckily, it's not that noticeable. You would really have to stare at the figure to even notice that it is a slight difference. Overall, this is a pretty good minifigure selection. I think that most of the figures are done very well, but I do wish that the Boba Fett was a new figure, and I also wish that the Luke Skywalker had a better looking hairpiece. Besides that, I don't really have any complaints about the other figures, but I do kind of wish that there was some sort of Skiff guard included, just because I think that would have made the set a lot better, and also have another enemy to fight, because there's just Boba. But now, for the actual builds. Talk about the Sarlacc Pit. Generally, I feel like LEGO did a pretty good job on this. One complaint I do have is that I feel like it is too raised up on the ground, and that does pose a pretty big issue later, and I'll touch on that eventually. But the Sarlacc Pit is actually on this whole little sand pile thing, which is somewhat accurate because the Sarlacc Pit is actually dug into the sand, and they did try to replicate that. And I don't think that the actual sand pile, I don't think it looks too bad, except my major issue is that on the back, they didn't detail it at all. So that's pretty annoying. But the actual detailing of the sand looks pretty good. I don't really have any complaints about it, except, like I said earlier, they should have detailed the back. But the actual inside of the Sarlacc Pit, there is, of course, the teeth, a lot of detailing with those little light nougat pieces. And it does look great. I do kind of wish that they put something there, because I feel like that black void just looks a bit off-putting. But the detailing of the teeth actually is done very well. They are all attached by some dark red pieces, which I think looks good. Some of them aren't. They're just attached to the gray stomp pieces. But I don't think that the teeth look too bad, actually. And there also is that little ring around made out of nougat pieces. And it also doesn't look too bad. I do personally like it. And there, of course, are the actual tentacles. There are just 4 of them, and they are a bit flimsy. So if you want to display, you can only really have them out or in. And I prefer to have them out. But on the back, there is actually these little levers, which are meant so that you could actually move them around, just like this. And I thought that is a pretty cool, good feature. And you, of course, have the main little beak of the pit. You, of course, can open it up and close it. And LEGO did do a decent job on it. I do think that it would have been pretty cool if they added some sort of piece right there that you could remove or take out to kind of replicate the Sarlacc's tongue. I think that would have actually looked pretty good. And if you want to put a figure in the little beak, then you would just be able to take it out easily. And like I said, you can have the Sarlacc devour one of your figures. And that is most likely going to be your Boba Fett. And they do fit in just perfectly, but for the Boba Fett, his little rangefinder does stick out a bit, so you would have to fold that down. But they do actually fit in fully, which I think that is actually a pretty cool feature. And eventually, you could take him out or something. And I think that, like I said, it's a very cool feature to have the Sarlacc Pit actually be able to eat a figure. But, to be fair, I'm pretty sure that most of the other Sarlacc Pits have done that before. Otherwise, there's not really too much to talk about. The actual Technic pieces of the tentacles don't look too bad because they are mostly black. They do kind of blend into the base, which I do appreciate. But there maybe should have been a couple more tentacles included. I don't know. And the bottom of the set is pretty simple, just some black pieces and some tan ones. But it's not like they had to detail the bottom. Now, for the actual Desert Skiff. I think that LEGO did a pretty good job on this too, but I do have a couple minor issues. The front, the detailing is done pretty well. They do use this big curve piece and this little wire that you're meant to bend around. And I find that when you're first building it, the tension of the actual piece can kind of pop that whole thing out. It's definitely worse when you're actually building it. Do you see what I mean? But eventually, the piece should stay in that bent position a bit. So hopefully that issue should be solved eventually. And with these, for some reason, LEGO used this piece instead of just a normal 2x2. Which hopefully if you replace that piece, it should help it stay there better. And of course, there is the whole ramp, which I think looks pretty good. And the way it actually works is pretty simple. It's just a tile on like a little rail thing, so you can push it forward. But it can fall back and forth really easily. So I find that if you're a kid trying to fly it around, it could fall out a lot, which is very annoying. And right here, there isn't anything right there, but there is some very minor detailing. There's just this little block. Not 100% sure what it is. I think it might be some sort of seating thing. And there is the whole little control area at the back, which looks very nice. There are these 2 levers, and LEGO loves to use these roller skate pieces. And there are, of course, these little railings, and they don't look too bad. Here's the other side. It's essentially the same as that one, except there's that piece. And for some reason, this whole thing can pop out just like that. So that a figure could fall overboard and break the railing, I guess. And I think that's not that bad of a feature. And the detailing at the back, they did do pretty well, I think. Especially the engines. I thought they did that extremely well. And there are, of course, these things, which also look great, I think. I really like how they used these staff pieces, and especially how they reused that hat. I think that looks great. And the way that they were actually able to do that angle is pretty nice. It's just this little hinge piece, and you can swivel this whole thing around. And there's a bit more detailing right there. I think that it also looks pretty good, and luckily with this whole piece, it isn't as bad as that front one, so there isn't too much stress built up in that one. And there are 3 of these transparent stilts, and they look pretty decent. They don't look too bad. I do like how they put that bigger one right there to give the middle one extra support. But I feel like it should have been higher, and also there should have been some sort of sand base underneath. And these two are obviously meant to pair, and as you can see that the skiff isn't very high compared to the actual Sarlacc Pit, which just isn't accurate because it's supposed to be like this high. But one issue I have is that with the actual desert skiff, there isn't really enough space to put the figures, and that's mainly because they just didn't include enough studs to actually put them. Because most of it is tile, and because of that, there's barely any spots to reasonably put the figures. So, would I recommend that you get the set? I mean, probably. It is a pretty good set. While I do have a couple issues with 2 of the figures, and the desert skiff should have been a bit higher, and of course, the back of the Sarlacc Pit doesn't look that good. Besides those, it's not a bad set, and especially if you're planning to get the Jabba sail barge, this is an easy must-buy, especially if you're trying to get all of the 25th anniversary figures. So the 9 nub is definitely a major attractor for a lot of people. But my main issue with the set is the price. $80 for this is way too much. When you just look at it, and when you actually get it in hand, it's not an $80 set. This set is easily a $60 or $70, and even that's pushing it. So $80 is just an outrageous amount. But overall, I would give the set about a 7 out of 10.